You see, you did jinx.
I did not jinx it. Come on, now you got the giggles out.
You jinxed it. All right, while Mark coughs over there.
Yeah, it's his fault. Podcast.
I'm just getting my voice ready, that's all.
It was delicious.
It tasted like hot sick.
I got bigger titties than you do, girl.
It's like hot lava coming out my ass.
You know what? If I don't, I should just save that part of that track because I could use a soundbite for that one, and that one too. All right, so we're gonna pause. And welcome to episode 1 of No Title, brought to you by Biggie Entertainment and other sponsors that we're not going to mention right now, or maybe ever. And sitting with me today is the second cousin of the last son of Krypton, Mark Zaharko.
Hello.
And struck with a dose of gamma radiation that made his hair green, Eric Vicky.
How's everyone doing?
And I'm your host, Nick Serino, with my mutated sense of pointing out useless criticisms like tank bouncing in Transformers 1, or the Superman Returns Lois Lane getting hit in the head with a big steel door. I'm leaving that in there. I don't care. I know I screwed up my own speech, but
that's fine.
It sticks. And we're going to move into our first segment, which is the news and movie news. Mark, you have our first story. What is our first story tonight?
Anchorman 2.
Yay!
We have a release of, 2013, so I hear.
2013.
They just released their 2 teaser trailers.
Did you see the trailer up online?
Yeah,
Yes,
it looked
I
good.
did.
That is pretty cool.
Pretty
Just
funny.
the 4 of them walking out. But something was different about that trailer.
Is this where your criticism comes into play?
No, well,
40-second teaser trailer, and you already have a
It's
problem
not
with the
a-
way they look and the way they act.
yeah, that's. No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It's gonna be a
the way
great
It wasn't the
comedy.
way they acted. They acted like they should.
Well, you have to understand, you got to think that this movie's going to take place a certain amount of years after that movie, so they're going to look older.
They're going to look older,
you know?
but didn't Brian Fantana just look a little bit different? What was he missing? Was it the beard or?
I think the long hair. Did he have long hair? He had
No, he
like
had
longer
long hair in
hair,
the
but not
first
that
one.
long, you know?
Yes.
But it looked different. And
Yeah, the movie poster, they had that out online. You could see that.
Yeah, the movie poster is just the four of
them standing there, just like their lower
feet.
halves. Yeah.
And if you didn't ever see Anchorman 1, you wouldn't understand where that was coming from. But 2013, we look forward to it. We're all going to get dressed up in
Hopefully,
suits.
I brought this up earlier before we started the show. Hopefully, it's been long enough time that we're going to see a really good film, and hopefully the sequel will be just as good as that original film.
Yeah, I hope so
Yeah.
too, because Anchorman 1 is definitely one of 3 of our favorite films to watch.
Absolutely.
We can quote it probably almost from beginning to end. And the interesting thing is, no Veronica Corningstone
No.
in the teaser trailer or on the poster. So it's almost like, wait a second, at the end of the movie, they kind of accepted her into, Ron and her got together, and
Maybe they're going to play it up where they got a divorce, and it'll mention her, it'll show a picture of her, and that'll be it, you know?
yeah, but yeah, that's it. That's certainly interesting. So talking about announcements and trailers that just got released and movie posters that just got released, James Bond, Skyfall.
Bond.
Have you guys seen the trailer yet up online?
I have not.
James
I
Bond.
have.
What'd you think?
I liked it.
Eh,
Would you like me to elaborate?
yes, please elaborate, because
Okay.
you're being awfully mum over there
Yes, I know.
with your streak of green hair.
You showed me a picture of Alexis Bledel. That's like my kryptonite, even though I'm the Hulk. Yeah, so the trailer came out, and it looks pretty good. It's pretty, I don't know. It just has a vibe. It looks pretty down-to-earth, gritty, along with the glamour shots and things like that. So, to me,
this
the trailer
wasn't-
was a good combination.
But this wasn't just it was just a teaser trailer. It wasn't
Exactly,
like
just like Anchorman 2, so relax.
No, well, in defense, if you see the Anchorman 2 teaser trailer and then you see the Skyfall teaser trailer, it is more
Apples and oranges.
It is. I'm saying they do show a little bit more than Anchorman did. They show at least,
No.
they show at least clues of the plot. At least I think. I think they show clues of the plot there because I
They're
told you
two different films.
bear with me here.
Well,
I
hopefully,
can't because this is your whole shtick, is pointing out the obvious that make no sense.
hopefully we'll get a better sequel than Part 2 was.
Shoot 'em up, bang, bang!
And please, hopefully they have a better opening sequence.
I love Alicia Keys singing that Quantum of Solace song.
dear.
Oh God!
Oh, man.
Yeah,
All
that's
28 minutes of it.
Horrible. Thank you.
it was not the best. It was not the best song, and it's certainly not the best James Bond movie of any of them. So
I could
Moonraker's
care
the
less if
best.
they brought Chris Cornell back to sing the same song as that first Casino Royale movie.
that was a good song. It was a
Well,
good song. I'll go on and say that
with
was a
Barry
good
Nelson?
song and a good.
No, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. The first Casino Royale with
Daniel Craig.
Yes.
Ah.
Oh, don't worry about that. Any case,
So, no word whether Daniel Craig signed on for more Bond films yet, huh?
no word at all on that. They're still being pretty mum about his if he's going to come back after this third one. And I personally think that they're just going to wait to see what the box office returns are going to be, because if this movie's critically acclaimed and doesn't translate into box office receipts and doesn't make over, I guess, the magic number $100 million, who knows financially how MGM is going to doll out another film.
Right.
Yeah, the people might just say like, "Oh, look, it's great that you did a Bond film, but there's no one going to see it, so why do we make
They
another
could sell
one?"
the rights to Sony, and then the next thing you know, you got a new guy playing Bond again. You know,
That would be interesting.
You know.
But I thought that
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin,
was the Jack Donaghy James Bond crossover that we've all wanted.
Steve Carell.
No, I mean, honestly, you guys know I'm a big Bond fan.
No.
And yes, I am. And I would like this to be a good film, regardless if it makes a lot of money or not. If it's a good movie, I'll enjoy it, and
You'll
maybe
still
go
complain
see-
about it.
Of course, I'll complain about it. You can complain about every James Bond film.
I know.
Even you complain about James Bond films,
Well, it's fun.
except for You Only Live Twice, which that's a whole other podcast, and that we'll do eventually. We'll do a whole podcast on James Bond movies and such.
Closer to the release date of
Not with me, it won't.
Skyfall.
Oh, you're definitely going to be.
Oh,
here.
I'm not going to be here.
Oh, we'll have our epic debate on if You Only Live Twice is a good movie, yes or no. So let's move on. Eric, you had a news story.
No. Yes, this just in. Unfortunately, the people over beep 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 beep. It was just reported today that unfortunately they're pushing back the new G.I. Joe movie.
What?
Just about a year, so they can post-convert it into 3D, in the hopes of
Bullshit.
generating more money. And
Bullshit.
well, don't call bullshit on me because I
No,
didn't.
I'm not calling bullshit on you. I'm calling bullshit on the whole idea of having to pull that movie for a 3D conversion.
3D conversion, so they're going to wait almost a year. They got
And
like
then to
9
wait
months,
a
10 months,
year.
and just to show it post-converted 3D. And they had less than a month till it was coming out.
It's just a G.I. Joe movie. It's like, did they really have to wait for it till next summer? Or lead into
It's a
next...
sequel to that first movie, which I didn't think was that great of a film, to be honest with you.
It wasn't a great film, but it still was an entertaining film.
It was entertaining, but
I thought it was.
do you think this sequel will be better than that first movie?
You know
it will
what?
be on par with the first one, and marginally better.
And
It'll be on-
I don't see 3D making this film any better.
And that's the only reason why I'm calling bullshit, because it's like, wait a second, really? 3D is going to make this movie good?
Yeah.
And really, it's like, just put it out. You've already got it in the can. You've got two...
You know
what I mean? In movie terms, they have it...
Yes, I know.
3D. My stand with 3D films, okay, I'm not wowed by them.
Let me just go around the table here. Does anyone... How many 3D movies have you actively seen this year? Like, have you gone out and seen this year? Because I haven't seen any.
Zero.
None. Yeah.
And the Avengers came out, and I didn't want to see it in 3D. I wanted to see it in 2D, because that's the best way to see it, to get the story down.
When you go to 3D, you expect to see a lot of stuff pop out at you. The best that you get when you go to these 3D films is depth perception. It looks like you're looking a window into a room, and you know what? You can only do that so much. So.
Yeah, and putting that depth perception on G.I. Joe Retaliation is not going to help it, I don't think, one bit. So that moves into we briefly mentioned the Avengers, and that moves into our last news story, and that the Avengers has topped out over $400 million domestic box office. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it broke.
Yes.
Broke opening week.
Opening
record.
weekend box office records.
Yeah.
It topped.
Harry Potter.
It topped Harry Potter.
Yeah.
The Hunger Games.
And the
And
Hunger
Hunger Games. That was the #1 grossing film up until Avengers came out. That it's like, well, this is as being the most anticipated movie probably of the last 5 years, with the lead-ins of everything, and of the last Iron Man, Hulk, Captain
The total
America.
build-up over
The total
yeah.
build-up of all these different movies that have been like, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And then the fact that it's such a good movie, and I guess that we're seamlessly transitioning into our main body, which, as you saw from the opening title screen, is the Avengers and comic book movies in general. So, straight out there, your opinion on the Avengers. Was it good, bad, or just okay?
I liked it. I thought it was for the build up that it had over the last 5 years. I think the money that it's making is well deserved.
Yep.
It was a good action film. I'm not going to say that it was the best action film of the last of all time. No, it certainly wasn't, but it was very entertaining. So
I would have to agree with everything you said. Well worth the wait, I think. I mean, we got teased about it in Iron Man, and then teased about it again in Incredible Hulk, teased about it again in Thor, and then Iron Man 2 kind of fleshed it out a little bit more. Captain America really fleshed it out, and then boom, we get this movie, and it's just fantastic. It was fun. It was fun to watch. Great character, great story, great everything, and I'm at a loss for words here, so I'm going to let Eric talk for a minute.
I liked it.
Really? That's
No,
it?
I enjoyed it. It was a fun movie, and I'm glad it's making a lot of money just for the studios to make a lot of other comic book movies, because as long as you get different directors and writers, it'll allow different people to make different films. Hopefully the problem is you get too many, and eventually it'll seem like the market is just waterlogged with the same type of special effects. And
Special effects.
yes, them too. And I want there to be a wide open field, so you'll have movies like Blade or Batman, things that aren't necessarily within the same realm of Iron Man, Captain America, and the Hulk. Nothing wrong with them, but just to expand.
So, were there any criticisms about the movie? I mean, I found one, and
Just one?
no, yeah, I found I have to say I did find one criticism with the movie, and that is I didn't like the
Lord
fact
Zed?
that can be your.
I'm on the moon, and I have a crappy $1.95 costume.
Well, go into that. Go ahead. You
I have no atmosphere on the moon, but I can talk.
go ahead. You mentioned that was actually one of your dislikes, wasn't it? I mean, you didn't like that guy at the or what was his name, Thanos, or
Now, that was the guy at the very end during the closing credits, but his kind of lieutenant guy that looked like a Power Rangers reject, he was just talking on a planetoid moon, and he gave Loki the armies and things like that.
yeah, like say here's my army, go down to Earth and conquer it.
It just seemed like he was more of a reject
I'm
out
on
of
the moon.
out of a Power Ranger show. But it was very small. It was just to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
But I would say that I thought they did a great job with Captain America. They didn't need to expand on anything they did with his character.
Actually, I think
Wrong.
I missed that because it's such. Oh, follow me here. It's such a bittersweet moment at the end of Captain America when he wakes up in the future, realizes that
Everybody's dead.
well, not
That
that
he
everybody's dead, but it's like it's the future, and he has a line there. I had a date, so it's like he remembers the fact that he had a girl back during the war. They said their goodbyes before.
Who didn't during World War II?
Oh, yeah, everyone did. He said goodbye. They never got to dance, and it's like crap. It's now the future, and that's gone. But even with Thor, they put a 2-minute scene in there, or just a 30-second thing there where
Yeah,
they
it was
looked
20
up,
seconds just
where
to
he
show
looked up
Natalie Portman.
He looked up Natalie Portman. It's like, oh yeah, Natalie Portman, she's okay. She's off in an observatory. She's fine. Don't worry about her. We took care of her. They couldn't do that with Captain America, where it's
No.
like, hey, yeah, we looked up Agent Carter, and she's dead.
You know why?
Why?
You know why. They already filmed that scene. They just
And
got deleted for the theaters.
And
It will appear on the Blu-ray DVD September 25th.
that didn't
my
sound-
criticism? You want to know my criticism?
Go ahead, Mark. Let's hear your criticism, because that was really the only thing I found that was wrong, that didn't elaborate on Captain
I didn't
America.
agree with the fact that the Hulk was able to control his ability to change and be civil, just
So-
like that.
So quick. So
Just like
eloquently.
a flip of a switch, basically. I don't know. There may be more to it that was cut out of the film by Josh
Yes.
Whedon.
So the big surprise is he's always mad. Then why does he look normal for 99% of the movie?
Right.
If he's always mad.
Well,
How come he looked 100% calm until he hulked out, which is the traditional thing?
Well, we could all. Well, you could
Then
speculate.
with their silly reveal, it's supposed to be he was always mad. Well,
Well,
you
you could
never saw his
speculate-
eyes green. You never saw him losing it. He was calm Bruce Banner for 99% of the movie.
You could speculate that that's part of that meditation technique.
not
that they
speculating.
show. Well, remember they show at the end of the Incredible Hulk, he's
Yeah, I
sort of
know.
meditating, and it's
I
like,
know, controlling the beast.
can he control the beast? Can he turn it on and off? Can he turn it on and off on a like a switch? And it's like, oh, I can be the Hulk now, or I can,
Yes,
I can take it back. But the one of my favorite scenes with him, the Hulk, wasn't necessarily the scene. I know a lot of people laughed at the scene where he just grabs Loki and just starts smashing him into the thing, into the floor, and it's like, yeah, it's a funny scene. One of my favorite scenes was when Black Widow's talked to him in the and oh yes, there's also the scene where he punches Thor, just kind of
Thor.
gives him a like that. And no, one of my favorite scenes with the Incredible Hulk was when Black Widow Scarlett Johansson was recruiting him in that hut, and she's kind of telling him like, oh yeah, we need you to come in, we need you to do all this, and he's like, tell me the truth, and he just kind of flips out in that split second, and she freaks out. She just kind of like backs off, pulls her gun out, like, stay away from me, man, and it's like all of a sudden you see the troops outside. That's just that was one of my favorite moments of the whole film, and that's what I think the film did the best, was it got the moments right. Like there's another great moment where Tony Stark, where Captain America's fighting Loki in Germany, and all you hear is AC/DC come over the radio or the loudspeaker, and it said "Shoot the Thrill," and it's like, here he comes. I got goosebumps in that very instant. So like, here comes Iron Man. He's about to come in, and sure enough, he flies in, lands, and it's like, boom, there he is. And I thought, like, that's a cool moment. I will get goosebumps now every time I see that.
Was
moment.
that when he was fighting Loki, or was that when he got in it with Thor and Captain America? Was it Captain
No,
America?
before.
No, Captain America goes to Germany to fight to go after Loki, and they do that little James Bond style infiltrate and steal, and they take that machine and gouge that guy's eye out or
Right.
something. Marcus, your phone about to explode. Oh my God! And no, but it's just Captain America fighting. It's when Loki's out in the courtyard. And he's like, everyone get on your knees and bow down, and and then one guy stands up. Oh yeah, well, there's always someone like you that comes along and preaches about subjugation and fascism, and it's like, and we don't like that anymore. And then you see Captain America come in, and it's like that's a cool moment where he's like, yeah, well, last time I was in Germany, we had a problem with a guy, and I took care of it, even though he really didn't. But and then you see. It's like, okay, Loki's about to, I guess, come down on Captain America, and you hear Iron Man come in. It's like, yeah, here comes Iron Man, and that was great. That's a great moment, and like I said, there's other great moments where it's just like that moment you're just gonna remember. Like, here it comes, bam, and he punches Thor, or when I'm trying to think of the other one. Oh, I can't think of it. But go ahead. Did you have any other like moments? Did you get that?
I like the very end credits. I thought that was clever.
The very, very end
The
credits?
very, very end of the credits.
The second bonus scene.
The second bonus scene, yeah.
Where they're just sitting around eating the whatever that was.
Yeah, well,
Schmarmy or
Schwarmy,
Schwarmy.
Something like that, yeah.
Just around the news about the sales for their sandwiches now have gone up. Just because of the movie and everything. It's like, well, what the hell is that? For people who don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And they're really going to find it at the sandwich shops
But,
and cutting it off the rack and everything and making their meat sandwich.
And total credit to Josh Whedon, because that was not this bonus scene I was expecting to see at all.
What did you think?
Oh, here I am thinking it's going to be a tie-in for like a plug for Iron Man 3 or something. Like you saw the reveal of like, oh, there's Thanos. He's going to be the next guy they face in the Avengers, or the next big villain they kind of trot out. But I was maybe saying, like, since we know Iron Man 3 is the next movie that's going to come out in this parade of Marvel movies, it's like, oh, it'll be a plug for Iron Man 3. You'll see Tony Stark running up against the Mandarin, or one of the guys from the Ten Rings, or something like that, where it's like, oh, there's our next movie, Iron Man 3. And they just didn't do it. And I was like, they took it in a totally different direction and said, no, we're going to have a funny scene with just a bunch of them sitting around a table eating shawarma or whatever it is.
Shawarma.
whatever.
Copyright infringement.
Whatever that sandwich is, and it's just like, not even putting any dialogue in it. It's just them just eating. It's like, you know what? Okay, that works. They didn't have to say it. They didn't have to say a dang thing. So now, how does Avengers? My next question on our list of things to do here would be, how does the Avengers compare in your mind to other comic book films? Like, where would you put it in? If you had, would you put it on a top 5 list or a top 10 list of like, these are the best comic book movies ever made?
I think it's on their own level. I mean, you can't compare it to like Superman with Christopher Reeve I mean, because of the time period and what they had to work with. I mean, that element of Superman during those years was amazing for the fact of what they could do with the special effects during that time, making him look like he could fly and whatnot. Nowadays, you're talking about computer generation. It's almost looking to the point where it's as real as can be, you know.
But this was a big moment for comic book movies. I mean, they haven't ever done this before, of getting all these people.
Oh, absolutely.
Doing the 5-movie build-up, and then
that's
getting all
another
of them
reason why I
together
think
one
it's in
big
its
film.
own elite group. I think these films.
Elite group.
Yes.
I think these films, Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, all of them together have their own separate, category. I know they're comic books, but I can't see you can't really I can't see them being grouped with like the Superman and Batman.
No, but I know she didn't mention Thor.
Thor as well, yes.
Because I mean, we can all agree that Thor is probably the bottom of that list.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to rank those 5 movies and then the Avengers, it's like, well, where would you put Iron Man? Would you put Iron Man 2? I liked Iron Man 2 better than Iron Man 1, but you guys liked Iron Man 1 better than Iron Man 2.
Right.
Yes.
And then we get Incredible Hulk, decent movie. Captain America, I think about all the 5, I think Captain America is probably my favorite. What do you think, Eric?
I'd say first Iron Man and Captain America.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with Eric. So
First Iron Man and Captain America?
Yeah.
So you're voted off the island.
No, okay. Not so in its own class. So what would you say are the other like great comic book movies that would join that elite class? Would
Mac
you
and Me.
Would you even put Superman 1 and 2 in that category? No.
It's tough.
What about So what about more? All right. So what about more modern, like Blade?
Blade? No, Blade doesn't come close to those movies. It was a fun movie, but
Because it was a comic book movie.
it was a comic book movie, but
And
that's like saying Daredevil.
well, Daredevil was
Exactly.
Daredevil was okay. I mean, it wasn't a bad film. It wasn't like Elektra.
The original Hulk, the one with Eric Bana.
No, that's just a.
Thank you.
Those are just bad movies. Now, of course, none of them are as bad as we all know what the ultimate bad comic book movie was, and that is
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern's up there
No.
as worse, but
Batman, Robin,
Batman and Robin,
Superman Returns.
Superman Returns, and
Batman
of course,
Forever.
no, Nick Fury, Agent of Shield.
The TV movie.
Hey,
Well, you can't do that because then you have to
Look,
start talking about the
What about
original Thor,
Batman, the TV show from the
TV show,
60s.
Adam West, the campiness.
yeah, but wait a second. Those are TV shows versus TV
Right.
made for TV movie.
Captain America
this
was a
movie-
TV movie
Yeah,
back then.
2 Captain America movies,
Yeah, but wait a second.
Spider-Man.
Incredible
Hold on,
Hulk.
hold on.
No.
The Nick Fury Agent of Shield was a made for TV movie, but it was made for Showtime. So it's like, okay, well, we're made for
It was on NBC.
Encore. No, it wasn't on NBC, was it?
Yeah.
Oh well, whatever. I couldn't watch it. I'll put it this way:
Get your facts straight.
it's unwatchable. Have you ever watched it?
Yeah.
Could you make it through the whole thing?
No, I
How
didn't
about
care.
the original Spider-Man films that were?
I
In the
haven't
70s.
watched- No,
70s.
I haven't watched any of those.
Come on.
All right, fine.
Yes, I have seen all those.
So you sat through them, didn't you?
Yes.
And did you enjoy them?
Yeah, because when I first came out, I was like 8 years old in the 70s. That's why.
And
Between that and the Electric
Now,
Company had this Spider-Man
Let me
cartoon
rephrase that
comics.
question. If you
And
were,
for the-
if
and
you
for-
saw that for the first time today,
Oh, it's garbage.
Yes,
it's
that's
horrendous.
and for those who don't know Eric, now you can guesstimate how old he is.
I'm 41.
There you go. You just listen to his second he tells you. So what about V for Vendetta? That's on my list of like best comic book movies ever made.
I liked it. I can't say it was on my top 5, but we all have our
I
own
liked it a
opinion,
lot. I think one of the best they've ever done was Sin City.
Sin City. That's
a great film. I liked.
That's
I
a
really
great
enjoyed
I
that
thought
film.
that reflected the comic very closely. I thought they did
Very
a very
closely.
good job of mirroring the comic without trying to alter it or change it and homogenize it to a large mainstream audience. Not that they have with these other ones, but that was an R-rated film that was allowed to be a little more brutal. Not that all comic books are brutal, but
No.
it had a freedom that a lot of them don't get.
What about Watchmen?
See,
I liked
you liked
Watchmen.
I was bored with Watchmen.
I was vaguely familiar with the comic. I know of it and everything, but I enjoyed it. But it seems very split with people, and
It's just the first time I watched it, I just wasn't. I guess maybe it was the characters or something about the movie just didn't draw me in and hook me.
It was the fact the guy was walking around naked half the film.
No, that
You didn't
wasn't
like
it.
looking at his blue penis? You a homophobe?
That didn't bother me. I don't know. Something was missing, or something just didn't. I don't know. Just I couldn't buy into the excitement of the Watchmen. When everyone I remember when the trailer first came out, I was like, "Oh my God, they're finally making the Watchmen!"
Yeah.
It's like it was such a big deal, and I'm like, "It is." And like you said, I'm not. I was vaguely familiar with the comic book, the graphic novel.
But your time with comics was after that came out. That was a huge thing in the early mid '80s when they kind of
I was
not screwed the comic code
I
over.
don't think my parents would even let me read the Watchmen.
But yeah, but that's the thing. They dealt with superheroes as real, regular people with real problems, and that essentially all superheroes, because they don't have to follow the rules as everyone else, they are the villains to begin with.
Right. Now,
Thanks for cutting me off.
Would you rank the Avengers up with the Dark Knight in terms of how good a comic movie is or can be?
I can't rank them together because the Dark Knight was good in its own sense. The Dark Knight, plot-wise, you get it's more of a drama action film as opposed to the Avengers being just strictly an action film, comic action film, right?
Right. But if you had someone who had never heard of a comic book movie before, and didn't know never read comic books before, or never read like one of these comic book movies, or which one would you recommend to them? Would you say watch the Avengers because this is what comic book movies can be like in terms of fun and excitement?
If somebody didn't read comics before, I would say watch the Avengers for a sure fact. They would have 2 hours of. Not to say that they wouldn't enjoy Dark Knight,
right?
But I think they would sit there and enjoy the Avengers much more because there's more action. There's less drama in it, basically.
Yeah. Eric, what would you say?
No, I agree with Mark's statement. It would just put people going with a more open attitude about things. I think Dark Knight's better than Avengers personally, but if I was introducing somebody to the world of comic book movies, I would almost rather them see that because I wouldn't want them to become cynical going, well, not everything needs to be the Dark Knight.
Right, exactly.
And not everything needs to be
We're all excited for the
and
Dark
nothing
Knight.
needs to be happy goofy like not that the Avengers was, but not every movie needs to be that way. But I would introduce people probably to a more slam bang kind of fun.
Because I would almost relate it to the fact that it's like, if you were, the Avengers is almost like a movie or a comic book that you might want to read a couple times or just enjoy reading it a few times through because it's fun and it's like, oh, here comes that great moment where Iron Man steps in and here comes that great exchange between Tony Stark and Bruce Banner and Thor when they're all sitting there and all kind of talking, BSing back and forth, and it's like there's some cool fun moments in there. You might read it over and over again. Dark Knight's almost like a comic book or a graphic novel you read once and you're like, that was dark and disturbing, and that's copyright infringement. That was dark and disturbing, and I don't necessarily want to watch this again and again and again because this is a downer. I know you.
I have a morbid sense of humor.
No, don't get me wrong. We all watched. I've watched Dark Knight several times, and I love Chris Nolan's films.
And I'll tell you that
Batman Begins, Dark Knight are
and don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I think Avengers was an excellent film, but I also think The Dark Knight was an excellent film.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rank those two together because I have them in different kind of categories. Like I said, one's strictly a pure action film. One deals with more drama mixed with action.
So drama, action.
Correct. Yeah.
They'd be in two different sections of the blockbuster.
Right. I mean, Dark Knight wise, Dark Knight you could almost consider some of it to be Oscar worthy.
I think a lot of Dark Knight was Oscar worthy.
I
mean, the performances alone. I mean,
now the Avengers, the Avengers might get something for special effects, but it's not, plot wise, story wise, they'll never be looked upon by the Academy.
But and that I think is one of the better things, that it's not overcomplicated. It's not. It does have a sort of a twisty plot,
right?
A little bit, but then again, it's not overcomplicated. It's not too hard for kids to follow,
right?
And that is in essence what you want. It's like you want that young audience to be enjoying it and watching it, and
Absolutely.
then they'll enjoy comic books a little bit more. Where it's like you show them Dark Knight, the little kids might be like, "I don't understand what's going on in this movie. I don't know. Batman's great and all, but what's the big deal with the Joker?"
Right.
And it deals with Dark Knight deals with more adult themes, whereas Avengers dealt with more child themes. So yeah, two different great movies.
Actually,
two different categories.
It's interesting statistic that I did read that 51% of the viewers that went to see the Avengers were over 40 years of age.
Interesting. That is interesting. That's a really interesting fact. But I guess that's a lot of comic fans who have been waiting for something like this to happen for a long time. Where it's like, man, I just wish they could get a movie where they could bring this guy and that guy. How long have we been waiting? And this is going to be our next quick question here. Is now that we've seen the Avengers, how great would it be to see a Justice League movie?
It would be. I think Justice League would be great if they got to cast the right people for the parts.
Yeah.
You just can't get any random Joe Schmo off the street. I mean,
hey, Joe Schmo, come play Batman.
Exactly. That's the problem. Like, if they do a Justice League movie, you would almost want to expect to see Christian Bale to be a Batman, but you're not going to get that. Though there's no way he'll do that. You know.
No. And that's the thing. That's the other question I was going to pose. Is that would you guys be okay before we get into our prediction of what if Dark Knight Rises is going to be good or bad? Would you be okay with them rebooting Batman so that they could, in the sense that that Batman would reboot it and lead into eventually Justice League?
That's a tough question. I don't know.
Because the Dark Knight trilogy, as it's going to become the known Dark Knight trilogy, and I'll coin the phrase right now. I don't care what anyone says. These are definitely great Batman movies, and we don't necessarily want to take a step back to Batman and Robin or Batman Forever. You know,
the campiness, basically.
The campiness. Yeah. But in the sense that it's like you said, you'll never get Christian Bale to do his role in the Justice League.
Right.
You know, and we don't even know where this Dark Knight Rises is going to end with Batman.
And you know my feeling about Superman too. I mean, the only Superman to me is Christopher Reeve.
It's Christopher Reeve, and they tried restarting that franchise with Superman Returns.
Right.
Mixed results on that.
Now, don't get me wrong. I have Man of Steel's coming out in 2013.
Yes, Man of Steel is coming out.
Henry Cavill.
Caviezel.
No, that's Jim Caviezel.
That's Jim Caviezel. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, keep going.
Anyway,
that's Christ Superman.
Yeah, great. Well, he technically could be Christ. He is a god.
I give you my only son.
Does that make
so we don't know how. Sure, we don't know how he is going to be playing the character of Superman. So I don't want to critique him before I actually see the movie.
He'll be.
Thanks for asking.
No, but I think we've already sort of prejudged Superman Man of Steel because as we know, it's not going to be using the music from Superman,
nor red tights or yellow belt,
no, or the costume and everything like that. So it's like, oh, okay, we'll throw our early criticism out there right now.
You can do that. I won't.
Well, come on, use the Superman music. That theme is such an iconic theme.
Because that's the period you grew up in. People were saying the same thing when Kirk Allen wasn't Superman anymore, and then when George Reeves took over, people were bitched about that. And then when Christopher Reeve took over, they complained that it wasn't George Reeves anymore.
I gave Brandon Routh a chance, and you know what?
He wasn't bad.
He wasn't bad.
Brandon Routh, it was the rest of the movie.
It was the movie and the fact that he didn't have enough dialogue in that film.
Yeah, he was kind of standing around, and it's a shame because he did a very good job of mixing Christopher Reeve and his own.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
He could totally play Superman. But the rest of the movie just wasn't.
He will now be the George Lazenby of the Supermans.
We're not going to make that reference.
Sure we are, because it's true.
No, because that movie's good. Superman Returns is not.
Here's my impersonation of a cop at the end of the movie. Hey, your wife dead in there? You that James Bond dude?
So, real quick, prediction.
James Bond doesn't get married. What kind of crap is that?
All right. Save it for the James Bond.
Who's Vespa? What?
Save it for the James Bond podcast. Real quick, Dark Knight Rises predictions. Going to be a great film. Is it going to surpass the Avengers box office wise?
It's going to be an excellent film. It will not surpass the Avengers for the sure fact that you're not going to get the crowd of the younger crowd going as much as they were going for the Avengers.
Thank God. But they'll be there to annoy me when I go see it in the theaters.
But I mean, you're saying there won't necessarily be the young crowd. They won't be the repeat business.
Correct.
People will go see it a couple times,
yeah,
but it won't
because it'll be the last of the trilogy.
Yes.
They know it's the last Christopher Nolan Batman film, and it's going to be dark and depressing and sad. And I am totally cool with that. But there are going to be a lot of parents who just won't take their younger kids. Again, thank God, and a bunch that will.
Let's just throw it up now. Will it be better or worse than the Green Lantern?
Oh, it's going to be 1,000 times better than Green Lantern.
Better. It will be an excellent film.
I think as a movie, it's going to be way better than the Avengers because it's going to be a much more human drama driven.
In terms of plot-wise, it'll definitely be a more complex
human complex
story.
Yeah,
exactly.
Dealing with adult themes, where hey, we're all adults here. Let's see something more adult. Batman porno.
Wow,
Well, that's already been made.
It has been made, hasn't
it? Yes, it has. The Avengers porn has been made as well.
Yes. Just in case any of you are out there thinking.
Yeah, it's probably out there. Go find it. So speaking of going to find things, that leads us to our last segment of if you don't know us,
which you don't.
Which yes, most of you.
And we're gonna keep it that way.
No one listen to this.
The three of us have liked to meet up, and we watched some really bad movies over the course of the last few years. Probably longer than that. And one of the movies that got us starting in this was Mitchell. Now, Mitchell is our bad movie plug of the week, and that, if you aren't familiar with Mitchell, there is a very funny Mystery Science Theater episode out there. Mystery Science Theater 3000 being an excellent show about a man and two robots in space watching bad movies and making jokes about them. I'm sure you can find all of these on Netflix, or most of them on Netflix. And Mitchell was one of the movies that inspired me and Eric to go out and find the actual uncut version of Mitchell, because in Mystery Science Theater they have to cut the movie down to fit a certain length and insert their bumpers and stuff. And we found Mitchell. I found it on DVD. You found it on videotape.
VHS, yes.
And we watched it, and oh my God, how good of a bad film was Mitchell.
Well, the thing is, it was just a straight action movie. It's got a 70s
Copyright infringement.
70s kitsch to it, but when it came out, it was going in the Dirty Harry kind of category of tough.
But it was trying to be Dirty Harry, but it was not Dirty Harry. I mean, come on, what's one of our favorite lines? Cookie stealer.
Cookie stealer. I mean, a lot of good bad dialogue.
There's one scene where he's sitting there. Is it Mitchell sitting? Yeah, it's Mitchell sitting there. It's Joe Don Baker playing this guy Mitchell. He's a cop.
The movie was so bad that it opened the door for many more Joe Don Baker films for us to watch.
Yes, it did actually.
Yes,
we got into a whole bunch of Joe Don Baker bad movies.
Wacko
Joysticks. A couple other
Walking
Tall.
Walking Tall
films.
But actually, at Walking Tall film, as bad as it is actually better than.
What was the film that we watched where he had the 6-shooter and he ended up shooting like 12 or 13 times without reloading?
That's Final Justice.
Final Justice.
Yeah, he has an unlimited revolver in that one where it's like this guy's
6 shots go on for 15 to 20.
Yeah, it's amazing. But one of my favorite scenes in Mitchell, though, not just the cookie stealer part where he's sitting there eating a plate of Oreos, but and this got cut from Mystery Science Theater. But there's a scene where after a car chase sequence, he finds a guy, and they have a little fight sequence outside of this car, and the guy's hand falls into the door, and then Mitchell just takes it and kicks the door shut and slams the guy's hand right in the door.
In the door.
And man, did that look good? And that screen went on. It was like. Scream goes on for like a whole minute after the scene's over, and it's like that guy's just sitting there screaming. His hand's trapped in the door. It's great. And really some bad sound effects too. The golf swing. It sound like meat slappers. They're that old Foley. And you're like, what the hell was that? But yeah, there you go. Yeah, it sounded like a bad Foley of a whip. And yeah, and then there's the car chase sequence. Remember, what's the thing in the car chase sequence? Doesn't the
headlight fixes itself?
Yes, the headlight actually.
They shoot the scene out of order. And
they shot the scene out of order, and the car. It's like car's damaged. No, it's fixed. No, it's damaged. No, it's fixed, and everything. It's just a great bad movie. So I definitely recommend going out and trying to find Mitchell. If you can't find Mitchell, try to find the
Mystery Science.
At least try to find a Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode of Mitchell and watch it. You'll enjoy it. It's a great show to watch. It's a great episode of that show to watch. I mean, they're all great episodes. Some better than others. Man of Hands of Fate, still the worst movie ever made. Definitely didn't make for a good Mystery Science Theater episode either.
Space Mutiny.
Oh, Space Mutiny is another great one. That when we watched the uncut version of Space Mutiny, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
It
was a gem.
Sometimes these movies get better when you watch the
regular cut.
When you watch the regular cut, just because not that they get better good, I mean they get better bad.
Ega.
Because they leave in some stuff where Mystery Science Theater cuts out some stuff that it's like, oh man, why'd they cut that out? That's such a good joke. That's so bad. So thank you for participating in this episode 1 of. Do we have anything else to say? A little sign off here, or we're just gonna say this is no title because we don't have a title for this. We don't know what we're gonna call it. But I think we're just gonna call it no title.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Right now, that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. No title?
No title.
No title. All right, so we're going to close out this episode. Join us next time when we talk about something else. I don't know. This is Nick.
Eric.
And Mark.
Signing off.